The Manhattan Project. History's biggest blunder or greatest weapon achievement? The the father of Manhattan Project's response was,
And says, now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
and now I become death, destroyer of worlds. Now, the whole thing started off when these three physicists accidentally discovered fission. By fission, I mean, of course, atomic fission, nuclear fission, if you will. And it works kind of like this. First of all, you need First of all, you need an atom and a neutron. Now, the thing about atoms is that usually stable isotopes go ahead and be like this: an equal amount of protons and an equal amount of neutrons. Like 4 protons, 4 neutrons, that's just an equal balance. However, sometimes when you're let me show you something. If you take away a proton, you basically created a completely new element. If you take away a neutron, then you've created an isotope of that element, a version of that element, And here's the thing. It was said that if you bombard an atom with enough neutrons, then you can literally split it in two, which in the process would release energy and radiation, which will throw out these extra neutrons, and each of those will hit new atoms, and it will start a chain reaction until there are no more atoms left at all. The thing is, this happens naturally. It's just that most isotopes that are radioactive takes nuclear fission to a very, very slow level. I mean, an isotope of radioactive carbon takes thousands of years to actually split itself. However, people have been trying to figure out the ways of different elements that can split into this easily. Like split the atom easily. And those 3 scientists were these 3 physicists: Lisa Meitner, Otto Hahn, and Fritz Strassmann. And this all happened in 1938. And of course, this was a giant discovery. And the bad thing about this in the future is that they were all Germans. But that wasn't a big of a problem because we'll later find out why. So this discovery shocked the world, and nuclear fission was basically shown to be a potential for a big bomb. That was, at least in the terms of then, never seen before. And of course, everyone was itching to use this to turn it to show it to the other superpower, because all of them were fighting in World War II. And of course, you would literally want a big super weapon at your hand so you could defeat the enemy. And the Nazis were the ones who literally find out about this the first. So technically, they got the head start, and they did. And they also persecuted all of their lead scientists and physicists. So that was a big blunder on their part. And the British were all like, heck, the Nazis got a big bomb project. And they started trying to make their own bomb project. And it worked out a little bit too well, because turns out lots of Germans defected to the Americans. Because, well, number 1, they were kicked out by the Germans. Number 2, they didn't really like the Nazis a lot. And then the Americans came in, and, well, they were far behind, and they became a housing for all the German scientists, all the lead scientists on this project to be here. And I'm pretty sure they didn't really need this, because all of the top German scientists defected from Germany because of Nazis to the Americans and the British. And so the Germans literally had to start from scratch again. And so they started the Manhattan Project. And they made the army in charge. But since an army has literal no science knowledge, or at least not enough understanding of science to be able to go ahead and make this thing a reality, they made this guy, J. Robert Oppenheimer, the director of the whole thing. Why him? Because he's literally the scientist we chose. So stick with him. And that happens, and he codenamed the whole thing in Los Alamos. And he put in everything here in Los Alamos, which housed one of the greatest scientists of all time, Enrico Fermi himself, and even for a while, Albert Einstein. But that was very brief. And to be honest, he never actually let him into Los Alamos at all. But because it was because of Albert Einstein that the whole thing, that the letter that they sent, that the Einstein Ziegfeld, I believe, Ziegfeld letter was sent. And of course, with that, the Manhattan Project began, and they started making great progress. Of course, they found out uranium and plutonium was here, and why is this a big deal? Well, it's a race. The nuclear bombs is a race, and it's like the arms race. Except back then, they were in a very big hurry to be like, hey, what are we, the Germans gonna nuke us first, or are we gonna nuke them first? Yeah, that was the big question. And of course, apparently the Americans themselves had way better progress than the Germans because, as I said earlier, lots of the top German physicists, and by lots, I mean all the ones who are experts in this field and the discoverers in this field, actually defected to the Americans because they knew what the Nazis could do if they won this war, and they did not want to do that. And then one day, the bomb was ready, and they decided to put it in the testing site of Trinity. And the interesting thing that they did of the launch site, since the bomb itself was the equivalent of like hundreds or thousands of TNT, they literally put stacks of TNT all over the testing site first, exploded those, then if the testing site was great, and it was, and then they decided, okay, throw the bomb down, and then they did. And then, that's when Robert Oppenheimer, after seeing it, said this.
One says, now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
A phrase from a Hindu book. And then they created two more bombs. One with plutonium inside and one with uranium inside. Now, they were codenamed Little Man and Fat Boy. You could already see which one's which, wouldn't you? I mean, Fat Man, Little Boy, yeah. And here's how it works. Little Boy is more like a gun, like, you know, like how guns can shoot stuff by shooting out bullets at high speed? Well, basically like this. So there's the bullet right here, the uranium right here, another piece of uranium right here, and then when the shot's triggered, the bullet moves here, and that hits this yellow uranium so hard that it compresses here, and then when it gets there, the nuclear fission ignites, and then everything ignites. Boom. And what are the effects? Well, this one was dropped on Hiroshima. And the effects were deadly. In fact, one person who survived told a tale of a schoolgirl having her eye out of her socket and trying to put it in. A man on the bottom of that was at his feet trying to cover a hole so that his organs wouldn't burn and fall out. Another guy with black stuff on himself, and for him, he also had that black stuff on himself and was also burning. Of course, and they shot at the Japanese because the Germans already surrendered, and the Japanese were practically the only ones at war. And then when the Japanese didn't surrender, they shot a fat man on Nagasaki. The effects were deadlier. Plutonium has a heavier nucleus than uranium, so it did way more damage. Also, it's bigger. And what are the literal effects of this Manhattan Project? Starting the foundations of a way bigger bomb, the fusion bomb, or also known as a hydrogen bomb, as it uses a hydrogen isotope to use fusion, the thing that powers the sun, to create an even bigger explosion. And the possibility of war and a lot of danger and a lot of uncertainty. In fact, most of the Cold War, as we call it today, in America was spent children being taught how to do drills, and like when a bomb might fall on them, and people making home bunkers in their little backyards, stockpiling and stocking on canned food, literally everything. Of course, nothing would happen. other than the fact that millions would die and a major city would die. In fact, Hiroshima and Nagasaki are still standing today. They've rebuilt. But if the hydrogen bomb would be used in a war, which, other than the Cold War, which isn't that much of a war between two direct nation conflicts, didn't really happen, then we would probably be facing with the fact that the world very different. As Einstein said, World War One was fought with guns. World War Two was fought with nukes. World War Three will be fought with super nukes, and World War Four will be fought with sticks and stones. What he's saying is, World War Three would destroy everything, as we know it, civilization, and lots of technology. And World War Four, if there will be one after World War Three, will just be a world of humans fighting each other back to Stone Age times. And that's pretty much it. This video talked, in summary, the Manhattan Project video, talked about how the A-bomb worked, why it was created, the foundations of it, possibilities of the effects that luckily didn't happen, and how world wars will be fought, and what happened if we did use a fusion bomb, aka hydrogen bomb, in a war. The scary thing about atomic bombs is that atomic wars happen in mere minutes. They don't happen like years. Instead, they're like minutes, because once a nuke hits a city, it's gone. It's over. It's game over, especially if it's the capital of a country. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Hunter and Sean. I hope to see you guys soon. And so, until next time, promise yourselves you will not be like these people. And I'll see you guys soon.